We've known about the PlayStation 5's brand new controller, the DualSense, for a while now. We're aware of its haptic feedback functionality and its adaptive triggers, and we've even seen visualizations of how the controller will feel once we finally get our hands on it later this year. But one thing we're still not entirely sure about is how these new features will enhance our next generation experiences. We believe that the adaptive triggers, especially, will completely alter the way that we interface with video games moving forward. So we've done what we always do, and we've compiled this list of ways that we believe this feature could be implemented. Hello, I'm Liam from Push Square, and these are 8 ways the PlayStation 5's adaptive triggers could improve immersion. This video was originally written by our editor, SAMMY Barker, over on the Push Square website, and was adapted for video by 3 cats wrapped in cling film trying to pass off as a human. Me. Give me tuna. Before we start, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would really help us out. Let's begin by making one thing clear. The adaptive trigger technology found within the DualSense is totally different to the rumble triggers currently found in Xbox One controllers. The idea is that there's a programmable motor inside the L2 and R2 buttons in Sony's next-gen pad, which allow developers to change the tension based on what's happening on screen. But how will it work within our favourite games? Here's some ideas. Let's get the most obvious example out of the way first and foremost, because Sony itself has been touting this one ever since the DualSense was originally unveiled. Games like Horizon Forbidden West will allow you to feel the tension of your bowstring as you draw arrows back, perhaps even tightening if you hold onto the string for too long. It's a simple but effective showcase for the feature, and we can't wait to try it out in Guerrilla Games' next-gen title. Aside from a little stamina bar on screen, it's almost impossible to tell which of your players are gassed when you're playing FIFA, Madden NFL, NBA 2K, or any other sports games. So here's a simple but effective solution. The triggers tighten depending on how tired your players are. For example, if you're running into space as PSG forward Kylian Mbappe in the first few minutes of a game, there should be little resistance, but making that same run in extra time, with the Champions League final on the line, much more difficult. You could even apply the same concept to non-sports games. Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, could do away with its now pretty old-fashioned mash to run mechanic and replace it with the adaptive triggers to more effectively reflect your GTA Online character's energy levels. Haptic feedback is probably going to prove more impactful in racing games as you physically feel the change in tarmac and the grip of your car. However, the adaptive triggers could still have a lot to offer. Jamming the brake at high speeds, for example, will require more exertion as you attempt to slow your car before hitting a hairpin bend. You could also imagine the accelerator being gentle to press as you carefully feather it around a corner, but much stiffer if you're trying to speed it through a bend. What about guns then? R2 is typically reserved for pulling the trigger, and we already know that titles like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart will use the DualSense's new technology to mimic the texture of different weapons. The sequel's Enforcer shotgun, for example, will let you fire 2 rounds or 1, and you can physically feel the difference as you pull the trigger. We can imagine the same being true in other shooters. Imagine a laser rifle that requires charging. You'd be able to feel the trigger tighten as the energy increases. Or how about a machine gun in a more grounded first-person shooter? Its sheer power should make it more difficult to fire than, let's say, Agent 47's signature silenced pistol in Hitman 3. The possibilities are endless, and its impact on multiplayer games will prove to be very interesting indeed. Climbing in games like Uncharted has admittedly gotten a little bit stale, but did you know that Naughty Dog had planned to incorporate stamina and other mechanics in A Thief's End? Imagine how these systems could feel with the DualSense controller. Pulling the trigger would be much more difficult when you have a less stable hold, and the tension could even tighten as you cling on and your stamina falls. Even new releases like Fall Guys could benefit from this feature. A last gasp lunge to grab a tail from your rivals could require more effort than an easy snatch from a nearby opponent early in a round. Building on that thought, everyone loves a grappling hook, don't they? There's a lot that could be done with this tried and trusted navigation mechanic. Firstly, haptic feedback should be able to accurately reflect the swirl of swinging a rope and the clank of it connecting. Then you have the tension. The triggers should tighten when the rope is taut and loosen at the apex of each swing, reflecting the feeling of weightlessness as you battle gravity backwards and forwards. That would be super cool. In games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, stamina is very much a mechanic that needs to be managed. While it replenishes rather quickly, hammering away at enemies sees your stamina deplete after a few heavy swings. The visual feedback in From Software games is already fantastic, with animations demonstrating when your character is exhausted. But what if you could physically feel that exhaustion through the tension of the triggers as well? Not only would it add to the immersion of the gameplay, but it would also provide crucial feedback through the controller itself. It's becoming increasingly common for titles to let your creative juices flow, with customization options in things like racing games proving an incredibly popular inclusion. So what if you could get more control over your paint strokes by the DualSense's triggers adapting depending on how broad you want your brush to be? This would be a particularly welcome addition in Dreams, where the triggers are an important part of sculpting and decorating your creations. So there we have it, 8 ways the DualSense's adaptive triggers could improve immersion. Do you have any other ideas that we haven't thought of? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and make sure to subscribe to Push Square for everything PlayStation. Thank you, as always, for watching.